You know that feeling of excitement that you get playing a strategy board game when you're thinking, if I can get that gnome, combine it with those tasks, and take that special action after lighting the bonfire, then I am gonna score a ton of points. But as long as nobody else sees this strategy, be cool. So I played Stefan Feld's Bonfire on Tabletopia the other night, and here comes that phrase. After I played it, I really wanted to play it again. On the other hand, after playing Crystal Palace a couple of times, even though it was my big purchase of 2020 and I invested a lot of time learning it and teaching it, I'm not massively keen on returning to it. So I got to thinking, why is that? I think it's to do with the goals in these games and how they present you with strategic options. In this video, let me show you how this is done well in Bonfire and some other games, and maybe talk about some games where this is lacking. In Bonfire, there are 66 tasks in the box, and even with the full 4 players, you use less than half of these in the game. And the tasks come in 3 levels of difficulty. Are you going to go for lots of easy blue tasks, or are you going to try for the higher scoring red or yellow tasks? Where these tasks are on these islands matters, because you need to be able to plan a route through to collect them, and you want to get there before the other players grab them. And you also have the decision about which gnomes to go for, because there are going to be particular cards that are going to work with your strategy. And the point I'm making is that Bonfire presents you with a lot of strategic possibilities at the start of the game, because all of this is laid out there right at the start, and it's up to you to try and stitch a strategy together through looking at all of this. This puts me in mind of another great game, the Voyages of Marco Polo, where the action spaces for the whole game are dealt out across the map at the start. You're looking for combos between the cards, and then you're going to plan your route to try and match them up. And then this is all combined with these like super powerful character abilities. Gaia Project, of course, does this too. It shuffles up the scoring and technologies each game, and then it combines that with you choose one of 14 races, which really impacts how you're going to change the game. I have friends who play Gaia Project over and over. They just keep returning to it, so I know the replayability in Gaia Project is super high. When it comes to being presented with strategic options at the start of a game, can any game better Agricola? With the expansions, I now have 540 cards, and then in a game you're going to see about 40 of the 540 in a draft, and then you're choosing 14 of those, and then you're playing your game with those 14 cards. So you really are stitching together this strategy out of a lot of options, and that's, I think, is why I keep coming back to Agricola more than any other game. Bora Bora is my favourite Stefan Feld game. It has an absolute ton of these gold tiles, and every single round it forces you to take one of them, which piles on the pressure and makes for a really intense game experience, which I love. But hang on, aren't there plenty of replayable board games that just present the same options at the start of every game? With Caylus, a game I love, you just start the game looking at this empty road. When I think about the games that I enjoy that are like this, they tend to be games that are interactive and games in which the board state is changing and evolving, and that you're constantly readjusting your goals and responding to what's happening in front of you, and you can respond because it's an interactive game. It feels like in Crystal Palace there's not a lot of long-term strategy options being presented. The core of the game is those cards, but they're going to be swept at the end of the round, so you're only going to be able to hold on to the cards that you grabbed from that round. And as for the board state, at the end of the round, the players retrieve all of their dice, and it feels like the game just sort of gets reset at the end of each round. And I think that is why I'm not getting hooked. The dice mechanic makes for really tense gameplay, and the theme and illustrations are gorgeous, so you should give it a try for yourself. Plus, it has the Uwe Rosenberg seal of approval, so what do I know? I feel that Madeira suffers a little bit from this too. You have those king's favours, but they're the same every game, and you actually do most of them every game, so it lacks a little bit of replayability for me. And the Voyages of Marco Polo, it has a little issue where sometimes you can feel that by the time you've travelled to your action spaces, there isn't enough time left in the game to do them. But Marco Polo 2, in that game, it definitely is easier to get across the board quicker. What about the theme of Bonfire? There's something faintly comedic about being a gnome, traipsing around these islands, and you're trying to coax these guardians out of a sulk so that they can come back and join around the bonfire. It feels like half the time Stefan Feld designs games with the theme of Rome or trading in the Mediterranean, and then the rest of the time he goes totally off-piste. The game designer Vital Lacerda, he says in designing a game, he first gets inspired by a theme, then he immerses himself in research about the theme, and then a board game emerges out of that. I get the feeling Stefan Feld starts at the other end and designs some sort of, well, a beautiful abstract puzzle for us, and then as it's going to print, he's like, crikey, what theme am I gonna slap on this thing? But Stefan Feld does have form for these sort of mystical themes. For me personally, it's a bit of an off-putting theme. I didn't play Luna or the Oracles of Delphi, and with Bonfire and its gnomes, I associate gnomes with children's stories and not really a 2-hour heavy strategy board game. I'm more used to games where if there's a person like scowling at me off the front cover saying, this is going to be a serious board game. That said, the illustrations and artwork are really beautiful, and that's because it's Dennis Lohausen. He did Hansa Teutonica, another game with gorgeous artwork and map design, graphic design. And you know, with Bonfire, between the fantastic artwork and fantastic gameplay, I reckon I can get on board with this theme. Well, thank you for watching this video, and if you're thinking, I actually found that reasonably interesting, well then, you should consider supporting the channel, which you can do by just hitting that subscribe button or liking the video or sharing it. Thank you for all of your encouragement so far, and I will see you in the next one.